Hello, so I already did a video explaining how to write a hook. So in this video, I'm going to explain what context is, how to write context. If you still are confused about hook, please go back and watch the hook video or ask me for help. If you have your hook and you're ready for context, this is the video for you. All right, so your intro has three parts: your hook, which grabs your reader's attention, your context, which gives the reader any background information they need to understand what you're about to talk about, and then your thesis. So the context, you're just giving basic information about the topic you're about to write about. It's basic, but it's also really important because if you're writing an essay about Odysseus and you're like, imagine that you're walking down the street and you hear someone crying for help, what would you do? Odysseus is not a hero because it's like, hold on a second. Like, you were just here and now you're here. And like, what's the connection? The connection is your context. Whatever you are trying to say about heroes, you need to introduce who Odysseus is and make some kind of statement about heroes. So let's see if I can explain this well. All right. Context means the circumstances that form the setting for an event, statement, or idea, in terms of which can be fully understood and assessed. So essentially what this means is that the context equals sort of the circumstances for your essay or the reason you're writing the essay. Now, I've told you previously, now that we're in high school, we don't want to say, I'm writing this essay because. So don't say that. So I'm going to put that all in caps. Do not say, I am writing this essay because. You don't want to say anything that direct. You just want to state your context. So I'll give you some examples. In this step, share any context or background information that your reader needs to connect your hook to Odysseus. So for example, Odysseus, the hero of the Odyssey, and then you can add your own brief description. So going back to my previous example, imagine you're walking down the street and you hear a cry for help. What would you do? Odysseus is not a hero. And you're like, wait, what's the connection? Now let's add some context for connection. Imagine you're walking down the street and you hear someone crying for help. What would you do? Odysseus, the hero of the Odyssey, the ancient Greek epic, often made selfish decisions and put himself over others. So if he heard someone crying for help, he would at first just think about his own needs and desires. Now I can give my thesis saying Odysseus is not a hero, and it makes sense because I set up a situation where a person might have a choice to be a hero. I gave context for what Odysseus would do in that choice, and now I'm going to talk about Odysseus not being a hero. See, it puts it together, okay? It makes things go together. If you think about your introduction as a sandwich, the hook is a piece of bread, the thesis is a piece of bread. If you just hand someone two pieces of bread and say, here's your sandwich, they'll be like, no. You got to have some context in there so that your sandwich is filling. That made really good sense. You have all learned something. All right, so let's look at my example. Your context does not have to be long, like 1 to 2 sentences, okay? You're not giving a book report. You are not going into in-depth about the Odyssey. You're not telling people exactly what happens. That is too much. If you give that much information, people are going to be like, I don't want to read this. That's just the way life is. People don't have long attention spans. In fact, you're probably falling asleep during this video. Wake up. All right, so here's my sample introduction on this same handout you have access to. For my hook, I went with a quote. Chadwick Boseman, star of Black Panther, once remarked, receiving an award for playing a superhero is amazing, but it's even greater to acknowledge the heroes we have in real life. All right, so now I want to make this connection between, take this idea of superhero versus real hero, like real life hero, connect that to Odysseus, and then introduce my thesis. So here's how I did it. The ancient hero of the Odyssey, gotta italicize that title. The ancient hero of the Odyssey, Odysseus, was not a superhero. He was a man living a very privileged life, but he was still just a man with no immortal blood. So I'm taking Chadwick Boseman's quote about superheroes versus real heroes, and I'm establishing that Odysseus, a hero, is not a superhero. He's a real hero. This is my context. Now, normally, when we're in real school, this is real school, when we're in face-to-face school, I will walk around and help everyone and have conversations and help you with your context and stuff. Something I can do real quick in person. If you have questions, just send me a chat or unmute. We'll talk through it, okay? Now I'm adding my thesis. Now this thesis is the exact thesis I wrote in step 3, and I just plopped it in here, filling the thesis requirement. Now I'm going to put it all together as a paragraph and read it to make sure it makes sense. So to do that, you highlight just this part, go to copy, and then down here go to paste without formatting, and ta-da. Then you just have to go back in and do this kind of stuff. I was supposed to start my office hours 1 minute ago, so apologies to anyone who's waiting for me. All right, so then I will put my introduction together. I will read over it to make sure it makes sense. In the interest of time, I will let you read over this on the handout, but I think it makes sense. I connected Chadwick Boseman's quote to the idea of Odysseus, and I gave my thesis, my opinion of whether or not Odysseus is a hero. All right, hope this helped. Off to office hours.